nice to have all you moms here. If any others of you are able to put your faces on, please do that when you can. I understand there are times when we just can't. But when you're able to, please do that. It makes such a difference when we can see your faces. We've got a couple moms that are going to be a little bit late this morning, and just making sure that we've got everybody that wanted the link this morning. Okay, I think we're good. So we're going to go ahead and start. I would love to hear first off any reports for the past week. Anything you want to share about what you've been doing, what maybe thoughts you've had after last week's meetings and the discussions that you're part of, or anything new. Laura, welcome back. We love having you on here. We sure appreciate all of your help last week as we were discussing all kinds of things related to emotional resilience and those tips and tricks that you know so well. Really appreciated your experience there.
Thank you. I didn't realize that I was not on mute. I'm blow drying my hair.
That's all right. You're fine.
I'm so sorry.
No,
but
you're fine.
I do want to just comment, since last week was super inspirational for me, and that has inspired me to start a virtual world schooling group where I'm going to be just sharing a lot. We're going to be doing a country a week. And I'm doing this with my kids, and I just thought I wanted to invite others. I'm working on finding families who are living abroad that I can interview and host on there via Zoom. So we'll get together once a week and kind of learn from the families that are truly world schooling, living in those countries. And then we can just ask questions and kind of learn virtually. So I mentioned that my dream is to world school. And, right now, today's world, we can't really do that. But I'm going to bring the world to my kids. So I hope some of you guys will join us.
Last week when that came up, I could tell that you were very excited about that idea. And I saw your post about it. So good for you. That's wonderful. And I have a resource for you. So I'll share that with you later.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and mute so I can blow dry. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. We got to get those things done. Anybody else? Some thoughts from your past week, either from last week's meeting or from just your experiences that you've had on your own or with your family this week? We'd love to hear about that before we get started.
One of my dreams has always been to have a vegetable garden, and I've shared with you my milk jugs. This past week, for the first time, I was able to harvest some lettuce and spinach and cilantro, and I ate it for my lunch. And it was a dream come true to be able to eat my own food. It was such a feeling.
That is awesome. And it does feel so good. Everything tastes better, and you feel amazing because you accomplished that and were able to grow your own food. There is something pretty awesome about that. And I think there's something so healing about getting your hands in the soil of the earth. There's just something good about that too. Good for you. Congratulations. That's awesome when we reach some goals that we've had. So that's wonderful. And it's because you started so early with that winter kind of, I can't remember what you call it, but you were able to harvest a lot sooner than you would in your area, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called winter sowing.
Winter sowing, that's right. Winter sowing. Okay, wonderful. I love that. Okay, also, thank you to those of you who have joined the Facebook group. That's a nice way for us to be able to share with each other, to get to know each other even better. So I need to put the chat up here. So any of you that are interested in being added to that group, let me know so that I can do that. And if you have expressed interest before and I have missed you, please just don't hesitate to put your request in bold letters, because that is not offensive to me. It just gets my attention, and I appreciate that. So it's good to see your faces. Really good to see all of you. Lindsay, welcome back too. It's good to see you. Okay, so my son helped me get most of our recordings up on the YouTube page finally. We Oh, thanks, Melissa. We are behind on last week's, but we'll get that caught up as well. And then, like I said, we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do as far as making our recordings private or something like that. Although I did, after mentioning that on our live discussion a couple of weeks ago, I have received messages from several moms who I've never met, but who watched the recordings and said, oh, please, 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 if you decide to make it private, please let me know so that we can continue watching. So we'll have to figure that all out. Also, the question came up about what we're going to do for this summer. Are we going to cancel for this summer or go to once a month or something like that? And Lindsay Bunting and I talked about it. And we feel like there's a need to meet every week. And we realize that in the summertime, you moms are going to be busy and you'll be in and out. And there will be times when maybe it won't be as consistently attended, but we feel like being consistent with us being here every Friday is important. And so we're going to do that just so that everybody knows as summer is getting started, in case any of you had those questions as well. Also, since we're just getting on here this morning, I would love to meet those of you who I have not seen on here before. So if you're comfortable doing that and would like to introduce yourselves, we sure would love that. You can come on camera, that would be awesome. But if you're not in a position to do that, we understand that as well. So I don't know if I know who Morgan Taylor is. Morgan Taylor, have you been on here before?
Yes, good morning. I have. It's just been kind of sprinkled a handful of times over the last few months. I'm hoping to be a little more consistent, but I am so grateful for this group.
Well, you're so sweet. Where are you from? Can I ask you that? Do you have enough time to share?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we are a military family. I am currently living in Georgia. That's where my husband's stationed right now, the state, not the country. And we're originally from Utah. But I was listening in just a minute ago about the world schooling, and I actually have another military family that is part of the Well Educated Heart Facebook group that's currently living in Korea. So maybe I could give the information for them because I'm sure she would love to share.
That's wonderful. So that would be to Laura Lines. That's who's looking for that information. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Morgan. And how many children do you have?
I have 3 girls. They are 8, 4, and 8 months.
Fun.
So super fun.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, thank you. I sure appreciate that. And Laura is saying, yes, thank you. She'd love to have that resource from you, Morgan. And then Zephyr the author. Can we find out who Zephyr the author is?
I believe that's Cadence.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. So either Cadence is here or Rachel's here under Cadence's name, yeah? So Cadence as in the author of the amazing, wonderful poem that I got to listen to? Is that the story, I mean, about kindness? Oh, I'm sorry, Cadence Fillmore. Oh, hello. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking Caden, Rachel's son, but Cadence, I know Cadence. Okay, sorry, Cadence, just having a moment. All right. Okay, so it's nice to have you guys here. Let's figure out what's today. What are we talking about today? What's the message? What is it we need to hear? What is it we need to feel? What is it we need to share? If you don't have anything yet, and that's fine, I'll continue with the Mothers University stuff. But I know that often it's something more that we, there we go. Now I know. Hello, good morning. Oh, so I don't know if you guys are, for any of you that are on Instagram, I'm on there at Teach Our Own. It's just teach.our.own because that's how I had to do that. And I posted yesterday just for fun, just my boys out. They were pruning our some of our palm trees. And I ended up going a little crazy with putting pictures in my story, but it was so much fun. It was just great being back out working in the yard. I love that. It was crazy hot here. We're in triple digits, but we just get out there because there's always popsicles in the pool, right? So that can conquer any problems you find if you're out there sweating like crazy. It's all good. But I'd love for you to share what's going on in your lives, what's happening in your families. I loved seeing this week Deidre Moore, our friend who moved to the with her ranger husband she moved into a national park, and so they're working on their garden there. That's super exciting. I saw Peggy Burt Edwards. They've been working hard on their garden plot as well, so that's fun. I love seeing that, people getting out in their yards and getting outside. I've been watching a lot in the 1,000 Hours Outside group with all the activity there. Lots and lots of families that are getting outside, spending time outside, and even individuals like me. I'm clocking in my hours. I'm getting close to 200. Oh no, wait, did I get over 200? Anyway, trying to hit my goal of 500 hours outside. I don't know if you guys are still working on that, but I think that's a worthy goal. I think that answers a lot of problems or a lot of questions about what do we do in the summertime. Just get outside, take your kids outside and go play. So anything to share about any of that?
I do. It's not
Hi,
outside.
Mary.
I did get my garden planted, and so I go out every morning and water it, and my kids love. I always get them dressed and then take them out, and then they end up playing with the hose and getting drenched, so I have to change them again. But I just share something exciting because I know that you ladies
you may learn after a few weeks of that, just why bother?
Well, maybe I'll just maybe I'll just let him go out in his diaper. It's fine. But we went to the library as a family on Monday, I want to say it was. No, it was Wednesday. On Wednesday. And our library has what's called Friends of the Library bookstore, but it's usually only open on hours that I am not at the library because it's bedtime for my kids. And so we went and they were open. We just happened to be there at the time. And I went downstairs and I was so excited, or downstairs into like the bookstore area. And I'm going to show you if I can figure out how to flip my camera. Okay. I found this box. This is the Childcraft set that I grew up on, that my parents had next to the table, and I just like spent hours and hours and hours reading. And my sister was, got the set, but a lot of the books are just like trashed or lost, and so I haven't had a complete set of it. So I bought another set of Childcraft, but it wasn't the same year, and it just isn't the same. I found that whole box of like the whole set plus several annuals for $8. And I was so excited. So this morning I sat down to breakfast with my boys, and I just said, you know what? I'm just going to pull one out and I'm just going to start looking at it. And then of course my 4-year-old was like, Mom, read it to me. So I just read to him all about trees and plants and how they grow and how flowers pollinate. Anyway, I just wanted to share how excited I was that I found this loved book set that I haven't been able to find before. So
that is wonderful. Good for you. That's a great win. That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. And I loved, there was a post somewhere that I saw of who was it? Was it one of you or one of the other moms that shared about finding their child in bed with one of the Book of Delights? And does anybody know? They were just, and they said something to him, oh, aren't there beautiful pictures? Oh, there's such beautiful pictures in there, something like that. And the child said, oh, I just love the poetry. I just thought that was so sweet. I loved it. Hey, there we go. Now we've got Rachel and Amy. Okay. So it's fun. It's fun when you find those little treasures, and especially when your children find them and they work their magic on your children. My husband and I were talking about, we were having a conversation about late readers and how we wish parents wouldn't worry so much about late readers. We understand why, because sometimes your child gets put in a situation where they're asked to read something and perhaps they're not quite yet at the level of reading that some of their peers are. You know, you have your kids that are way ahead and then your kids that aren't. And you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I mean, even in a primary class or something. And so really, it's only outside people that that's ever a concern for. We're usually comfortable as moms letting them be at their own level, their own pace. But we were talking about how to get kids interested in reading. And so maybe we could talk about that just for a minute or two. And I was sharing, he was asking me, what did you do? Because we had one that was just not interested in reading. And I said, you know, for me, the trick has been to find the magic, you know, find what type of books that child loves. And that can take a lot of work as a mom. You know, you may not have that kind of book in your personal home library. So you're going to the library, you're checking out different books, you're trying them out, trying to find out what the genre, you know, is that particular child loves or would wake up the love of reading in that child. And so I would try different books and I would read the first couple of chapters and read real animated and have fun with the reading. And then I would say, oh, I've got to run and change the laundry or empty the dishwasher, or, you know, cut up these vegetables or whatever. I'm going to leave I'll leave the book right here. You know, you can read for a bit if you want or whatever, and I'll be back and I'll read more. Well, if that book did its magic, then I would come back and the child would be, you know, in the book, reading the book. So, and like I said, sometimes we'd have to try different books, you know, and the child that I was trying to target, you know, maybe they weren't interested in the book, but I would find one of my other kids in, you know, up in their room with the book later on or something, but that's okay. That's all right. You eventually find it. It eventually works. Rachel, were you going to share? Maybe Rachel's just unmuted, and that's fine. Cadence, you came on and unmuted for a sec. Were you going to share something?
Oh, sure. Well, just a really quick thing. So last Sunday, I was listening to some music that my husband had put on, and he's been really good about turning on something beautiful and classical or whatever on Sundays, which I really like because most of the time he likes to listen to his dance music. He actually DJs stuff, and so he, you know, he's got the speakers and he likes the boom booms and the really loud bass and stuff. So it's been just really nice to see maybe a little bit of a transformation of, oh, this is nice and relaxing. But this sort of music puts him to sleep, but this calms me. And I'm like, oh, I feel great. I can get so much done. I'm focused, but it's okay. It works, but it's just funny. The point of all this was that I listened to something really beautiful because he turned it on, and I wrote it down because I wanted to share what it was. So it's Romeo and Juliet's Fantasy Overture. It was just so beautiful. And
is that Tchaikovsky?
Yes, and I loved it. And it was this video on YouTube, and I'll have to try to find it, but it had this gorgeous castle type house and then a big mountain and a lake in front of it. And it was beautiful. It just transformed our home. So
I love that. And I love that you shared that. And how wonderful that it was your husband that brought that to your family. That's really sweet. And that's nice of you to acknowledge that too. We want to make sure to acknowledge those things. So I wanted to take a moment to remind you, sometimes we don't know. I can't even imagine, you know, you guys, a lot of you are busy moms with lots of little kids. And so it's hard to make the time, but you can make time to check out the app, the Well-Educated Heart app. It is so amazing. And if you take this app, whoops, I'm getting messages. If you take this app and click on rotation, which is one of the choices there, click on rotation and it's going to tell you, first off, it's going to teach you how to use the library. And then it's going to walk you through the different months. And, you know, feel no pressure. This isn't like a list of, okay, you need to do this all in a month. These are just lovely, wonderful resources. You could pick one, you know, and use that. So if you come down to whatever month we're on, which is June, and it's month 10, it gives you the resources for this month. And it's amazing. It's so beautiful. If you click on, let's just say we click on Germany, then you've got resources for all the different ages of your kids. You've got, hold on, you have enrichment. Do you see the section, the shaded section at the bottom that says enrichment right there? You also have, on this one, you have a podcast from Marlene about this particular section. You have some notes and some comments from her that kind of just some helpful things. But if you go to enrichment, it's so amazing. So amazing. Sometimes there are crafts. So in this section, there happens to be a craft. There is a food, a dessert kind of an idea. There are plays, a whole bunch of plays listed that you could click on. Have you ever read to your children any of the stories like, who are they? The Melendi children? Oh my goodness, I love those books. Okay, I need to, somebody remind me. Lindsay, please send me a text and remind me to send an email this week. I keep meaning to do that, but to send an email with a book list, just some resources, some recommendations. But anyway, the Melendi children, like in Little Women, they would perform plays. That's one of the things they would do when they were bored. They didn't have screens, you know? So you moms that are thinking, I have got to get my kids off screens. There are so many incredible things they could do if you just took away the screens. But anyway, these kids would do plays. They would act out plays. And I love that. Oh yeah, Cadence, I will put you on that email list. Anyway, so here are a bunch of plays, and then there are movies. And so here Marlene lists all these movies, and it's a link. You just click on the link and you've got the movie. She makes it so easy for you. And then music. And so similar to what Cadence was talking about, you can access music, either just orchestras playing, or some of them are the things she was talking about, where it's got some beautiful scenery and then the music is playing in the background. And those are resources right there on the app. Lindsay, were you going to share?
Yeah, when you said plays, it reminded me, I've been wanting to do, we've been doing a co-op type of thing with a few families the last couple of years off and on with COVID and stuff. But this next year, as I thought about what do I want to do for our like Friday meetup co-op thing, I just thought of plays. I thought, what if that's all we did? We did a different play every month that went with the rotation. But I am not, like, I've never been in plays. I've never been part of theater groups. I don't really know how to do that. So that's something that I want to learn so that I can kind of, I don't know, somehow get the kids involved. And I think if I just kind of turned it over to them, they'd figure it out anyway, because all the kids in our group just love to do that sort of thing. And I don't know. So when you said plays, I thought that's what I want to do. That's what I've been thinking about. And I don't know why. That's just what we need to do.
I love that. And you've got Amy as a resource.
Well, I was going to say, when you come up here to Utah, we need to connect. There's our co-op group up here. They do plays monthly as well. And I can get to you what they do. They've got kids all different ages and stuff. So
okay, we will talk about that when we meet up.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I leave I'll be there this time next week. I'll be there with you.
I know. So I think I messaged you through Insta so we can.
Okay.
Details.
I took a break from Insta this week. So because I didn't respond because I was taking a little 7-day fast from Instagram this week. So I'll get on there.
Love those. Okay.
Okay.
Also, if any of you are going to be in Utah around the end of this month, on my birthday, Ralphie Jacobs is having a parenting course in Provo. So if you're going to be around, man, I'd sign up for that. I just love watching her stuff. She's so good, has such wonderful information. Also, there is a podcast called Play Theory. And it was started initially by a friend of mine. They live up in Northern California. She was my mentor. She was the only person I knew homeschooling. She's the wife of one of my best friends from growing up. And they homeschooled all of their kids, all 6 or so of their kids. But they started doing plays as a way to learn Shakespeare, because if you've ever read about Shakespeare, it says what you read says the best way to learn Shakespeare is to perform it. So they started doing that just in a co-op. Well, it ended up being this whole what is it called? Take Note Troupe up in Northern California, and they perform plays, and these kids are amazing. They do an amazing job. And then they go to the Shakespeare Festival. They went for years to that Shakespeare Festival in, is it Cedar City or something? And they would come home with awards and trophies and things. Anyway, it kind of became a big deal. And it just started from some homeschool families starting to learn Shakespeare together. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so resources on well-educated art. Don't forget to use those. Melissa.
Oh,
honey.
sorry. On the topic of plays, I got this at my library for free a couple of years ago. It's just a Scholastic
Oh, cute.
Hills for school kids, I guess. And I just grabbed it and I was like, well, we'll see in a couple of years. My 4-year-old found it about 6 months ago on our shelf, and he was like, I want to do this. And so there have been a couple of days where they'll just be like, we don't want to do school today, we want to do a play. And so we'll read through it, and then they'll figure out who they want to be, and they'll go make costumes and props, and
I
they'll
love
put it-
that.
they'll put it
You
together.
together. The book, I missed it.
Yeah, what was the name again? Fabulously Funny Family Plays or
Fairy tale
Fairy
plays.
Tale Plays? Okay, I'm putting that in the chat. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. If you had more to say about that, that is so cool.
Okay. And they probably have more. I don't know. I just found it at our library, but it's just like the gingerbread man, except they changed it to the popsicle boy or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And so would you, as a mom, you would recommend then let the kids kind of go with it?
Yeah, I'll read it through once because I mean my 4-year-old doesn't read.
Yeah.
Very well. He's starting, but I'll read through once and they'll decide who they want to be, and then they'll figure out their costumes, and then they'll get their props, and then they'll decide where the stage is, and they'll put the play together. And the baby is usually like an accessory character, a dog or a cat. Will woof on the side, and they all put this little play together. And it probably with my little kids takes 1 to 2 hours, and they put it all together, and then they're done and they move on.
That's awesome. That is so great to
It's
hear. I love
totally
it.
fun, different activity to do on a day when they don't really want to do, sit down and do their work. So, and they've started making their own. They'll be like, oh, you know what? Let's do The Little Princess. Let's do, and they'll just do, like a 3-minute play for some of the movies they like.
Yeah, that's awesome. They can write it, direct it, act in it. That's awesome. Cadence, were you going to share?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You don't have to be muted. Nobody has to be muted.
I've just got a show going in the background here.
Yeah, no, that's
Little
fine.
bear. It's
If
fantastic.
anyone gets too loud, I will mute you. Just out of, just for you. Lindsay.
Yeah, well, going back to your comment about getting kids interested in reading, I know that I'd say it took me at least a year to get my kids weaned off of screens. But we're not screen free, but we're pretty close. We're very, very limited. But now my kids just, my older one reads like crazy, and my younger one is just beginning to read. But it's just so nice to see them enjoying that. And before that, it's okay, you need to do your reading, But now, let me show you. This is our library book basket. There's probably 45 books in there. I take my kids to the library, and it is like a candy store. They just want everything. And I have to be like, okay, let's go through these and pick some that we don't want, but I just think that eliminating screens, or limiting them at least, really pushes them into the books. And it's just because before that, we're we really want our kids to be readers, and we have tons of bookshelves and stuff, but I think getting rid of the screens is a big deal. And I wanted to share something. So I don't know if any of you are on I'm on this, it's called PragerU it's for parents and educators. But I just check in once in a while on just kind of read the comments and on the Facebook forum. And I just thought this was really interesting, so I wanted to share it. So somebody commented, one of my reasons for joining this group was to raise awareness of an alarming trend I've seen over the last few years as an elementary school teacher. First, we do read-alouds every year, quite a few actually, probably more than administration is comfortable with, but so be it. Over the years, I have invested thousands of dollars of my own money in an extensive classroom library, including juvenile literature from grades 2 to 8 and dozens of class sets of books. I would expect that the administration would not be appreciative. That's just how things work. But what surprised me is that in the past 5 years, students are actually a lot less interested in picking up books. It came to a head this spring when finally my students came back from being trapped in distance learning for a year. I purchased a coupon book that gave each and every student in class a free book of their choice as kind of a welcome back gift. All they had to do was choose the book, fill out the coupon, and return it to me. As the deadline approached and I had only 2 of 28 coupons returned, I began reminding students about it. When the deadline came, I had 4 completed coupons in my hand. I gave them yet another inspirational prep talk and extended the deadline. I ended up getting back 7 coupons total and had to place the order so that the books would arrive before the end of the school year. When I asked the rest why they had not turned in their coupons, one child admitted, "That kind of stuff is important for you, Mr. Crutchfield, but to me, it's not a big deal. I like my phone and video games. I don't really like books." I was stunned, but even more so as I looked around the classroom and saw students nodding in agreement and approval of what he had just said. If literacy and books in general are to survive, we have to change something. And as a teacher, I'm frankly out of ideas. I will continue to try to make reading fun and books available to my students, but I'm forced back to the saying of you can lead a horse to water. And I just could not, I can't believe it, because kids are getting phones younger and younger these days, like elementary kid. Well, he is an elementary school teacher. So for them to say, "Oh no, I like my phone and my video games," like you shouldn't have phones and video games, But if you do, I don't know. So anyways, it's just crazy. Like, the kids are not caring about books, not caring about reading. All they care about is screens. And I do think that COVID, really contributed to that, I'm sure, for a lot of people, which is why one reason I chose to homeschool. But anyways, it's just so crazy. That's just how it works. So he had 2 willingly who did it, and then a couple more, and then a couple more convinced. But out of 28 kids, that's just crazy and sad.
Well, I love that you shared that. I love that you shared that. Thank you for sharing that. But put a bunch of adults that grab all your friends, put them in a room, and put out a bunch of really amazing, wonderful books. And how many of them are going to pick up a book over their phone? And we model the behavior that our children exhibit. It's us. Laura, were you going to share?
Yes. Sorry, I'm finishing up a diaper. So the reason behind that I believe is because our society is lazy learners. We're not proactive. We are passive learners, and we want everything to be spoon-fed to us instead of going out there and seeking learning and seeking information. And it reminds me of something that I learned recently that was really fascinating. It goes right along with what she shared about screens, and that is getting outside, because there's something about moving your body and being outside where you're exploring nature that turns on something in your brain that instead of being that object and wanting to be fed, they're seeking learning and they're exploring. And so in this, I think it was an article that I read. In this article, it talked about how you take your kids to the park or outside.
Hold on, did we lose her? We lost Laura for a second. Hopefully she comes back. This is super interesting to me, this idea about it changing something in our brains from passively sitting and wanting to have things come to you, be brought to you, which is what the screens do, to having it be something where you're actively learning. I love that.
I was
We
going
have
to
her-
say too.
There
can
we
you hear
go.
me?
Yeah, now you're back.
Sorry,
No,
I
this
don't
is
know what
Ida.
happened.
No, that's okay. So you were saying it changes something in your brain.
Yeah, so if you take your kids outside to the park, for example, they're going to play. And then after a while, they're going to start to look for bugs or hunt for things, pay attention to the plants and want to kind of explore the park. And when they do that, that is kind of your cue that they're ready to learn, that they've moved their bodies and they've, I don't know the science behind it, but that was the idea, that they move their bodies so much and they're so active that eventually it turns to curiosity, and they start to be curious about their environment around them. And that's when you can teach. Like so for me, when I first learned that, I made it a goal to take my kids outside in the morning before school to prepare their minds.
Smart.
And it's interesting. Sometimes we have a backyard pool, so we live in Arizona. We'll often go swim early in the morning before it gets too hot. And I'll take a book and put it outside on the little table. And then when they're really tired of swimming, like, when they just kind of lay down on the cement and just kind of get more relaxing, then I'll pull the book out and start reading to them. And then the next day, a couple days after I started doing this, it kind of became a routine where if I forgot, like, they would grab it or they would start to ask for it. And so I think that just goes right along with it. And it's interesting with the screens too. The screens feed information, whereas being outside teaches them to be an active learner and a proactive seeker of learning.
I love that. That's so important to understand. That'd be something to kind of research a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I just want to add, there's a game called Bring Your Own Book. If you guys are familiar with that. It's like apples to apples in that there's somebody that's the judge and they have a card that has a prompt on it. It's something you don't want to say in front of your boss or something like that. Hey, buddy. Shh. And everyone brings their own book. Everybody just picks a book. You can bring the Bible, you can bring a math book, you can bring any book that has words pretty much. And you pick, there's a timer, so like 1 minute, and everybody has 1 minute to find a phrase from their book that will fill that card. And then the judge picks who the winner is. And you can just kind of make it up yourself if you want to for kids. Buddy, please be quiet. But I did this with a bunch of adults, and some people brought cookbooks. And somebody brought the book All My Friends Are Dead. It's like children's book. It's got like one line per page. Yeah. And people had chapter books and all sorts of stuff. And it's a fun game, and it gets people engaged in the books, and it made it so people are like, oh, I'm going to learn this book inside and out, so I know where I want to find the lines or whatever.
Right.
So if you have a reluctant reader, that might be something to start doing with them to help them be interested in reading as well.
That's a really good idea. I like that. We played that one time at the beach house with some cousins, and it was fun. And I think we had like a travel log book, a child's picture book, a book of scriptures, somebody's favorite book that they do for just that reason. They know the book really well, so they have funny things that they can add, put in there for the answers. Anyway, that's a creative game. I like that. Thanks for sharing. Mary, were you going to share?
Yeah. So I was really lucky in the fact that when I was in my teenage years, my sister moved back in with my parents for a little bit with her kids, and so I got to see. And she does well-educated heart and all of that. But something that she said back when I was like 16 really made an impression on me. I remember I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember the scenario, but basically she was making a point of reading like physical books, because she was like, my kids don't know. Like, if I read a book on my phone, on my Kindle app or my Nook app, my kids don't know that that's what I'm doing. My kids, to their eyes, I could be on Facebook, I could be on Instagram, wasn't a thing back then, but I could be, playing games. I could be doing they don't know that I'm researching. They don't know that I'm, reading my scriptures. They don't see that, because all they see is me on my phone. And that was actually the thought that went through my head this morning when I pulled out one of my childcraft books and started reading those. Is usually I just like jump on my phone and I'm listening to an audiobook or something like that. And I went, no, I want my kids to see me reading, because they'll follow my example. And maybe if they see me reading, they'll ask me to read to them, or whatever it is. But I think that oftentimes, like, we have to model the behavior that we want in our children, and if they just see us on our phones they're not going to know what we're doing on it. And, you know, we have to show them in a way that they'll understand what we're doing.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I agree 100%. If you have the physical book, go pick up the book. With my kids, because they're older, I want them to know. So if I'm trying to read a book or a resource that's only on my phone, I'll say, hey, just so you know, right now I'm reading this thing, so that they know. But I think, you know, after a while, they'll just walk through and just see me on my phone. And that's the model they're going to see. So I do think there's great value in getting hard copies of the books that you love and are going to be reading. I think that's, I don't know, it just could be a goal that you kind of work on. I do want to draw attention to the quote that I just put in the chat. It is so good. It is so powerful. So I will read it to you. It says, do not then train boys to learning by force and harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds, so that you may be the better able to discover with accuracy the peculiar bent of the genius of each. It's a quote by Plato. It is so powerful. Don't force learning. Direct them to it by what amuses their minds, what they are interested in, what their natural inclination is, so that you can better discover accurately the very individual genius of each child. That is pretty powerful. And you moms, if you're brave enough to do this, because it does take courage, because it is different from everything else that's going on out there. But if you are brave enough to do this, you will see, you will learn, and that child will grow and blossom and do so much more than you would ever have required of them just scholastically. They'll be able to find their individual gifts and talents and be able to work on developing those. And you'll be able to help in the encouragement of that, which is really what our job is, right? Any comments? Sharing? Rachel, yeah. By the way, your hair is lovely.
Thank you. That's actually something that's been on my mind lately, because I have some high school kids and we're still new to this, and I have had a lot of like anxiety, just in this whole process of making sure they get the right things. And we joined an LDS co-op that's like a virtual co-op that we're going to do in the fall. And I was like, okay, we're going to sign them up for this class and history and this. And and I was all excited. And then I started getting like the requirements that were coming in, and it was for different classes. And I'm not saying kids shouldn't have requirements, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so time consuming to where like we're going to miss out on all this, like My America Storybook. We're going to miss out on this experience and this time that we have to like learn together. And I really have found myself like second guessing and being like, I don't know that that's the right thing. Like I'm finally like getting it and plugging in and understanding and just saying, you know what, let's have this freedom and this, organic learning. And it doesn't all have to come in the form of writing a paper and taking a test. And that's not how this has to look. And so I just have found myself this week, like, I may need to like really reconsider and take them out of some of the things that like felt so important to put them in at the time, just because I worry that will make us like totally backpedal on where we're getting, Yeah. So definitely see the value in that.
Yeah. So follow your heart, but it's hard. It's hard because there's safety in those routines and the structure and everything. And so it's a little scarier to remove that. Lindsay.
I just listened to yesterday or the day before a podcast from called The Homeschool. And it was called Why I Quit Our Co-op or something like that. It was pretty funny. It reminded me of that. But she was just talking about how those co-ops are really good and you should always leave on good terms. Like there's lots of good things, but sometimes you just don't want to do it. Like for no other reason other than you just don't want to, because you have other things to do. And it was just really good. It was just, I love the way that she just kind of gave everyone permission to not do those things. They're good things, but you don't have to do it just simply because you don't want to. And that's okay. But yeah. And then there's other times where you do it because that is what you want to do. So, and that is what's good for your family at that time. So it's hard to go with what you just want to do, but you can do that. Also,
I have to have permission.
I know I always need permission to like do what I want to do. But I just thought of something not related to what we were just talking about, but you were talking about the rotation earlier, and I remembered a resource that I had shared with a friend this week that Rachel Stevens actually has on YouTube. If anybody, just to bring light to that, she makes a YouTube channel, like a YouTube list for every month, and that's just something fun that we like to do. We've been doing it for a couple of years at least. I don't know how long she's had them up there, but we recognized this month with June that like, hey, we just did all these videos, but it was a year ago that we did the June stuff. So find Rachel Stevens' Well Educated Heart YouTube channel. It's pretty good.
It's really good, actually. I'm trying to see, because I was trying to find it yesterday and I couldn't find it. But like she has one up there right now. I'm just typing in the title.
If I find it, I'll link it in the chat.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah.
I just put the title because from your link that you shared with Laura earlier. Also, this came up, this idea of remembering that you get to pick and choose what you want to use, what works for your family, and that it is okay to say no, and that you really need to because there's so little time. The time goes by so fast. So if you receive kind of a prompting, you have a feeling that there's something you should do, just do it. If the people that are involved, if there's somebody that's perhaps overly sensitive and they do get their feelings hurt, an adult or the other kids or something, they will get over it. Do it kindly and everything. But there are times when sometimes a person will be unhappy that you made that choice, and you have to do it anyway. Lindsay.
Oh, on the podcast, she said that her friend refers to as her breakup bread. So every time she kind of like quits something, she makes them this special bread and says, "This has been really, really fun. Thank you. Here's some bread and we're done." And it's like her breakup bread. It's supposed to be like a good thing. Like we're not ending because we're mad or anything like that. This is just what we're gonna do.
I love it. Yeah, there was Laura Pollock was sharing with us. She's got a sick baby, so she's here with us, but I don't know if she's able to share. But she was sharing about with us a couple weeks ago about having to change a morning routine that was really great. It was good and it was fun for her kids, but it took them away from something even better that they were doing at home as a family. So there are times when you have to make those choices, do the thing that is best for you right now. And the next phase, it might be something, you might go right back to that. Anybody want to add something along these lines? Hey, Abby.
Hey. Don't mind me. But yeah, I wanted to add something. It's not really related to what we're talking about right now. So sorry. But I was just thinking about earlier how you guys were talking about being outside with your kids. And one huge benefit I have found is the house stays clean. So I definitely like to take them outside. But another thing that's really awesome is they learn to, if you have more than one kid, even if you don't have more than one child, they're still going to associate with other people, and they learn to, how they say like homeschool kids are unsocial or whatever, which is total BS. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but it's totally not true in my opinion. Sorry guys. But they learn to work together, and they learn to, I'm sorry, I'm never good at articulating my words, but they learn to, when they like get in an argument or I want to play this, I want to play that, they learn to work together. So just wanted to share that.
No, great points. And I'm glad you did. And don't apologize for yourself. You are just adorable and we love you. So Abby and I got to talk yesterday for a bit. We did a personal Zoom and it was super fun. She's just darling, such a good mom. And she is following her heart and she's doing hard stuff, being true to what she knows she needs to do for her kids. And that is awesome. She is a superhero mom, in my opinion. Okay, any other thoughts, ideas? Oh, and I'm not articulate. Abby, are you kidding? I'm the worst one on here and I still open my mouth and talk. So, just welcome to the club. Rachel.
I got a couple things. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I don't want to talk too much, but I had two things that well, maybe three things. Okay, I'll be fast. I've been doing the meditation and I told my little groupies this, but it has helped me to really start sleeping better, which is amazing. And it's been interesting as I have been doing I've been doing the morning one, and then at night I've been doing like the daytime where you finish your day and
gratitude one.
Yeah. And you fill your mind with an intention of what you're going to do tomorrow. I have been so amazed how many like direct impressions that I feel when I have done that, and like very specific things. And I feel like it has been really a interesting way to get those answers to prayer for those prayers that I've had in my heart of what do I do with this and how do I deal with this and what do I do with whatever, or I go through and it's like, imagine what happened today and what didn't go well and what can you learn from that, and such like clear things have come to my mind. And I say that because I feel like acting on some of those things has really just kind of changed things. And I think that this is also part of why I felt like I need to just let go of some of the co-op stuff was because I feel like this whole year I've been trying to explain to my kids, this is what the well-educated heart is. This is what, because I have older kids. Mine aren't like, 3 and 5 and we just read stories and play. It's like, I'm trying to explain to them like music and art and all these things. And last week I had this like total thought come to me to make them bingo boards, and they have been so exciting. I made each of them a bingo board, and we incorporated a couple of the school things that we've been doing, and I left them room to write a couple goals that they have. And we incorporated music and art and poetry and stories and nature and service and all these different goals. And I've showed my kids, like my older kids, I linked them in one of their squares. It was like, study the importance of music. And I linked them to Marlene's section on music so they could go through some of the videos. And I was like, find 3 to 5 resources, like giving them some guidance, but letting it all be open to whatever spoke to them. And so sorry. Anyway, we've just had so much fun doing that. I've seen puzzles out. My kids made these like leaf face things today because I had them do a nature project, just like pick something from nature and turn it into something else. And they've just like really had so much fun doing these bingo boards because there's a big prize at the end when they get a blackout. But and we'll do a different one each month, but it's been so fun because I feel like they're kind of like starting to see, and I'm like, okay, everybody pick somebody from the Great Lives books. Who do you want to research? And then they're going to dress up as them or interview them. They're going to do it in a creative way to present to us what they've learned about these people. And just little things like that are, I feel like they're like getting it. And, anyway, I think sometimes it's more of what we do than what we say that helps the heart understand the most. And in saying that, my little third thing was when I couldn't sleep, I listened to Marlene's podcast. It was the one about building towers and temples. I don't know if that sounds familiar at all, but anyway, it's in her podcast list. And there's 2 parts. So good. And that is so much what it talks about. On the tower, it's all about building on the outside and all of the, building up to what looks good and right for other people. But the temple is all about building from the inside out. And that just really, really spoke to me as I've kind of put all these things together for me, for what I have needed, and just gave that reassurance again that that is true. That is what it's about. It doesn't matter if my kids score, on 100 different tests that they get great scores. What matters is like she said in the podcast, when your kids are having a hard time, they're not going to go to the math facts. It's going to be like with the things that make them feel safe and loved, and like they're going to resort to to the arts and the things that they have come to know and to love. So anyway, I'll stop. But yes, I feel like I just learned so many things this week.
That is wonderful. And I think we all love that kind of sharing, Rachel. Don't apologize for that. My goodness, that is fabulous. Great examples. I love the bingo boards. We used to do a very similar thing. And it gives them a little bit of structure, but they have the freedom of when to do those things and kind of how to carry it out. I love that. Love it. Love it. Thank you. And I love that the podcast, the towers and the temples. So important to think about that. There's a question from Lindsay there, Rachel. If you know which podcast that was, will you link it? So we'll try to find it. It is something like that. I can't remember, Towers and Temples. I'll try to look. Cadence, we're going to go to you, sweetie.
Okay. So hold on. So something's been on my mind that I wanted to share. So we've been having a wonderful time doing our homeschooling. I mean, we've loved homeschooling forever, and I've loved doing Well-Educated Heart. But in April, the Lord gave me a direct prompting that I need to put my oldest daughter in public school. And it broke my heart. And I felt like everything was going so well. Why do you want me to do that? and here where we live in particular. And so, but I can't deny the prompting, and it was the clearest I've ever gotten. And anyway, I just wanted to share that. And also, it has been really interesting that making that decision and registering her and doing all these things, it's just made me really want to try to prepare her as best as I can and think of all the things that we can do during the school year at home to try to make up for everything else that she's going to be having at her. And so I was really scared, and now I'm feeling a lot better. I just feel really emotional talking about it because it's really tender to me still, but I love that with this Well-Educated Heart that we can keep going with our family lifestyle. That doesn't change just because she leaves, and in fact it may make her appreciate it more. That's interesting too, because some of the thoughts that came to my mind after were that I really don't want to do this, but I will do it. And then the other thoughts that came were, she needs to see the difference between this and what's out there. She needs to see the difference. And then that it'll only be temporary. And then the third thing was that she needs to be a missionary at that school. And so we're going with it, as scary as it is and not my preference. And I loved homeschooling, and I was set to do it forever. And so I don't know. We'll see, and I'll keep you updated with everything. But that's all I had to share.
Oh, I'm so glad you shared. And I think some of these moms have some words for you. There's a lot of soberness all of a sudden here. We feel that we can understand your heart, Cadence. But before I talk, I want to see what other moms have to say to you. You're all being polite. Just go for it.
Hey, can you hear me? So, go open the door for your brother. I haven't sent my kids to public school, Cadence, but my sister, she has 11 kids and she's older than me. And she was doing this homeschooling journey for a long time too, and has been. And I think it was probably like maybe 4 years ago, she ended up sending all of her kids to school. And she was super stressed out with life and everything. And there were other reasons, but she felt like she really needed to send them to school. And so she did, and she got them into this school. And they did really, really well at school. And then she ended up taking them back out of school, like, I think it was a year, maybe 2 years later. But we've talked about that a few times. And in the interim, she told me, or that her takeaways from that experience was that she felt like just at the time of her life, she needed to send them to school because for her to know, first of all, that she was doing a good job. Because it was like, you know, she was, even in my own family, people were like, oh, Emily's doing crazy stuff with her kids. Like, they're going to be so messed up. She should send them to school. Like, even my siblings who were homeschooled, and they were super critical of her. And it was really reassuring to her to see how well they did in school and know that she was doing okay. And then also they had this really sweet opportunity to be a missionary to one of her son's teachers. And they just had this really, this teacher and her husband and my sister's son had this really good connection. And he did not want to be at school. He did not want to talk. He did not want to participate. And her husband, they were both teachers at the same school, and he came to the class and was really goofy and just totally connected with her. And anyways, they had just really sweet conversations about the gospel, and he gave her a Book of Mormon, or he gave, her. Anyways, and then I think it was I think it was 2 years, but maybe even a little bit longer. But the last year, her husband passed away. He got like cancer or something and died really suddenly. And her son was able to he was really sweet and tender, and he just had this really wonderful thing he wanted to share with her. And it was just a real beautiful thing that happened and helped her. And I think, it was just a sweet experience for their family. And she felt like maybe the biggest reason that they were supposed to be in school was because of that. So don't be afraid. I mean, I say that and I tremble in fear sometimes what the Lord has asked me to do. But he does have a plan, and it'll be okay. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges, but there will be learning, and it'll be there'll be sweet experiences that you will be able to take away from that. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.
Okay, who else? I know you guys have words. You're all just being polite. It's like when there's somebody driving a car, and someone at the cross, like you're trying to, who's going to go first? It's like, just go. Somebody just go. Go, Rachel.
I sent mine in a chat, but I'll just say it. Like, I don't know all of you super well, but I do know, and I have always been able to tell from the very first day that I ever heard Cadence speak, that what she has done, Cadence, what you have done in your home, and the love of learning, and just the care and the attention that you have put, like, that will make a difference regardless. And public school isn't like the end all, and it's not the worst, and it's not, it may just be that is what is the right thing for right now. It doesn't mean it's forever. And even if it was, what you have done, I have no doubt will make a difference for him. What you will continue doing, like you said, like, just it will be such an important like jumping off point. And it's what I think she will come back to over and over. So I think you are an amazing mom and an amazing homeschooler. And I genuinely like look up to you. And I aspire to do what you have done and what I have seen you done even just in a short time, because you really are amazing. And I think when we respond to the things that we are prompted to, you cannot go wrong. The Lord will make up and compensate in whatever way it needs to be for you to feel that reassurance and that love.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Anybody else? Linnell.
I had a tender moment this past week where I was in church listening for a specific message, and it came in the form of the song. So, very famous song, you will know it, but I just wanted to read some of the words. It may not be on the mountain height or over the stormy sea. It may not be at the battle's front. My Lord will have need of me. But if by a still small voice he calls to paths that I do not know, I'll answer, dear Lord, with my hand in thine, I'll go where you want me to go. There's surely somewhere a lowly place in earth's harvest fields so wide, where I may labor through life's short day for Jesus the crucified. So trusting my all to thy tender care, and knowing thou lovest me, I'll do thy will with a heart sincere. I'll be what you want me to be. Those words brought me a lot of peace and comfort to know that God was aware of me and of my struggle, and what was coming, he was aware of as well. And that the plan that he had for me was in my best interest. And so as I allowed myself to mourn the change, or to be sad about what was to come, or I love this part where it may not be, what was it? Maybe it's not the mountain height or the stormy sea. It may not be the battle's front. So sometimes we have this idea of where we should be and where is best for us, or where our strengths can best help us, but God knows best. And when we listen to his call, when we heed his word, when we obey his voice, then he will be with us. And I'm sure it'll be better than you could ever imagine.
I love that too. Thanks,
Thank
Linnell,
you.
for sharing. That's powerful. Just waiting. Millie, Lindsay.
And public school or not, I hope that you still come and join these meetings.
Oh yeah. She's not leaving. We won't let her.
Going anywhere. I told her, I'm like, I don't care about your school homework. I care about what we do at home here. Like, not to be, I don't know. I know she's gonna have to do things differently at school, especially with math, and so that's gonna be interesting. But I'm like, I don't care. You just do your best, whatever, and we'll do stuff at home, and that's what I really care about. I care about, I don't know, her as a, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I appreciate everything everyone said. It's just comforting to get the weight off, and you guys all understand. And my friends at church don't, because they're like, well, why are you homeschooling in the first place? You know, so it's just kind of like, wait, you're not going to homeschool now? What's good? Like what? Anyway, so.
No, we do understand. Lindsay Cardall, you were going to say something.
Well, I just think that sometimes when things happen to us, we think about what's happening to us, but rather than, try and flip it and think like, oh no, like we all think that you're amazing and your daughter must be really amazing because Heavenly Father wants her to go out, and it just seems like she needs to be a light to others, so I think it's flattering for you to get that calling for her, you may or may not see the reason, sometimes we find out and other times we don't, but I think she's going to do great things.
That's awesome. I like that perspective too, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing. Millie.
I think I had to leave for a few minutes, so I missed part of this. So I'm hoping I'm on the right page jumping in. But I know just in my experience, sometimes when I started down the homeschool path or any of the paths that really made me kind of different and my choices became different, I realized those were things that Heavenly Father led me to. But that I start those, but then I think that I know the end result. I think, okay, he's starting me on my path. This is where I'm going now. Not realizing that he knew all along that he was going to alter that path. Or I don't know, I see that we start in faith on these paths. And there have been things like, even in, because I had 2 home births, and even in those, I stepped into those in complete faith that this is what I was supposed to do in those moments. And I think, I don't know, I didn't know the end result, but I had faith and they all turned out fine, but I had to go forth in faith, just step by step. And so I guess, like I said, just, we think we know that we're the end all, but we don't. So I think he probably had this in mind the whole time, and he's just prepared her for this through Cadence. So.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Millie and Lindsay Bunting.
I am just in awe. And I'm not going to cry. I'm just in awe of all of you women and this little girl. Just the, like, I don't know, just the faith and the love and everything that is just coming out of all of you. I just kept, hold on, baby. All I kept thinking was, I couldn't say it better. Like, that's just exactly what needed to be said. So I'm just in awe over here of all of you, and just how Heavenly Father's aware of all of our lives and all the details of our lives and leading us and loving us. And so I'm just full of love and admiration for all of you. That's all.
You're so sweet. Oh my goodness. And this is going to be interesting, Cadence. I have a sister-in-law who was ready to homeschool, ready to bring the kids home. Well, it's Kristen, who's usually on here. And she didn't get to for like 2 years. And she was not understanding why, if she's ready and her heart's ready and she's wanting to, why would she not? But that was the answer for them, and she said, I can guess at why, it might have been that we were supposed to do this other thing for a while, but I don't know exactly. I just know that, and she and I talked about this, but remembering in your head the fact that he loves her even more than you do, which is so hard to imagine, but in our emotional resilience class last week, the comment was in the manual was that, well, in a video that was in the manual, that his hands are the best for us to put ours into, or put our lives into. And so his hands are the best for you to put her life into. And so as hard as it is for you, because it's different, it looks different than what you thought. You thought you were on this path, like Millie was saying, that was homeschool all the way to the end. And now you have a little bit of a change in that path, and you might come, like you said, she might come, well, you said it was temporary, so she will come back, but she has something to learn, something, some way to grow, something to give, and that's wonderful. And so as you continue being you, which again, I'm also a member of that Cadence fan club. So there is something so sweet about you, Cadence, that just shines through, and we all feel it, and we're all lifted by it. And I'm sure your daughter has been too. And you'll continue, and you'll follow the Spirit and do every day what you're supposed to do. And she'll get to do what she's supposed to do and learn what she's supposed to learn. So, but you will always be supported by us. And I hope now you feel that. And I hope you other moms were able to see what Lindsay saw too, that there's such incredible support here. It's a wonderful, safe place to be. And there is a reason that Heavenly Father has put us together. And whatever is coming, that we are involved in is powerful. And it's something that we are working on. I don't know that we really understand what it is that we're doing, but it's powerful. I think I know that we're part of that work that's being done in the latter days, that's being done by women. We're part of that. And as I've said before, I know we are, because Satan is not happy about it, and we feel that. And that's always an indication that you're doing the right thing, when he gets his sticky hands in and tries to mess it up. But I shared something this morning that on Facebook that Kathy Brown shared, and it is a talk by Elder Tad R. Collister called "A Fence at the Top or an Ambulance at the Bottom." And it was a really good article. And as I shared it, I had a response come from a really sweet, good friend of ours who's a young married person right now. I didn't bring my glasses. Anyway, he said, I agree with Elder Callister. He said, however, I find it alarming that many leaders and reps within the church and other religious institutions bend the knee to cater and attempt to find common ground with those who advocate for complete degeneracy and degradation of the soul. There comes a time when you place that banner and fight. I fear the time to do that was 10 years ago. And you see a lot of that. You see a lot of this kind of despair, this frustration that we're not fighting, that we're not holding up that banner. And I feel that too sometimes. I'm a fighter, and I'm the one that's going to be out there waving that flag and standing up for freedom and, and all of that. But I keep feeling like that's not the way, at least right now. And so I wrote a response, and it's nothing beautiful, because I'm not eloquent with words, but these are my feelings. Nothing powerful, but this is just my thoughts. I'm a firm believer in standing for and upholding truth. I understand what you mean and have thought much about it. I wonder if in many cases the desire is to first warm hearts. If the hearts can be warmed, they can be taught. And isn't that a better first step? And if not, then we carefully follow the Spirit to know what our role is, and then day by day continue to seek direction. What do I do today to help build and defend? I feel extremely hopeful, and I do. I feel extremely hopeful as I'm teaching and discussing with mothers who are nurturing the rising generation. Sorry. I'm really sorry. I meet with groups of women, of mothers, every week, who are nurturing and training their own hearts and their children's to be receptive to truth and sensitive to beauty. This is the way, and it's beautiful. What are you doing today to nurture your heart? Read an inspiring story. Look at a beautiful piece of art. Listen to uplifting music. Get outside and enjoy nature. These things warm the heart and feed the soul and trickle down to influence all those within our sphere of influence. It will make a significant difference. So, like I said, nothing profound, but what you're doing is powerful. And don't for a second get distracted or believe any of those lies that suggest that what you're doing is not important, or that you should be worried about other things. No, you are focused on what is most important. And that is nurturing your own heart, warming your heart so that it stays soft. That's the key, that your heart is soft so that you will always be able to receive inspiration and direction from the Holy Spirit. And then that trickling down to your children. What better gift? What more could you want for your children than that they are sensitive to the Spirit, that they will follow direction throughout their lives? I can't think of anything more that you would want for them. And this is how we do it. And I love it. I love that we're sharing in this work together. Sorry, my little side thing there, but Cadence, you're wonderful. This is going to be maybe a little scary, but if you change it into a faith-filled journey, then it'll be just everything that it's supposed to be.
Thank you. I love this group. I feel better already.
I'm glad. I'm glad you do. Okay, other mamas. Linnell, are you paused and ready to share some more things? We love hearing from you. You know that.
I had some thoughts this past week about my own childhood. And I grew up going to public school, was never homeschooled. I knew some interesting homeschoolers, their typical stereotype that homeschoolers have. And so I I've often thought about the contrast between homeschoolers and public schoolers, especially when I was first deciding whether or not I wanted to homeschool. And this is just my first year because my oldest just started kindergarten. But my thoughts have been geared towards my home, and I'm slowly realizing that I think I had a well-educated heart upbringing, which I never realized. I never would have like pointed out and said, oh yeah, I grew up in a well-educated heart home because I went to public school. But the more and more I learn about this lifestyle and the more I live it, the more I realize that, okay, this isn't a public school versus homeschooling idea and philosophy. This is how to fill our lives with beauty and love and warmth. And so as I thought back on my childhood and what my mom did, I'm amazed that, oh, my mom did that and I experienced that and I remember doing this. And so little flashbacks of memory come to me and I realized I was so blessed, but I think I took it for granted. And so I kind of like, as you were expressing some of your concern, I totally understand your fears, your worries, where you've come to love this lifestyle and you're worried of what she's going to miss out and stuff. But I think it could still be a really good option where you still have the ability to fill the home with goodness. And I don't think you have to like make up for what she's missing out on per se. I don't think it's a lesser option in any way. And so just think of all the knowledge that you've gained and the experience that you have where you can make her time at home that much more meaningful and that much more intentional. And you have these tools where you just continue to live your life and fill your heart and be prepared to do that for her when she comes home, which I think my mom did beautifully without having any of these resources. And so just some encouragement that I don't think it's that bad. And I think you can still offer a well-educated heart lifestyle and home, and she can get the best of both worlds.
I like that. That's such a great outlook. And do we still have Laura? No, she's gone. So I was going to ask her, there's this, well, Lindsay, you might remember, there's this idea about coming from a mindset of scarcity versus what's the
abundance.
What
is the word? Abundance?
Yes, abundance. Thank you, Cadence. Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of what Lynella was sharing. You know, this is coming at it with this mindset of abundance rather than scarcity, rather than, oh, what am I going to have to make up for? But what can I add? You know, how can I make it, even better? And I like that. I love that take, because you're going to feel and act and be differently because of that, those thoughts in your head. Lindsay Bunting.
I think I just unmuted to say abundance, but I keep thinking the thought, like you talked about, when you're doing something good, Satan will try to stop you, but at the same time, Heavenly Father's going to try to help you. So you're going to get just as much help as, like, it just depends on who you're listening to. Like, I feel like we both got that week. We both had that week where we felt like attacked and a little bombarded with all the negative. But since then, and I think I could speak for both of us, we've both been like given these amazing resources and amazing things to help us keep on with what the good thing is that we're doing. And so I think at the same time, if we just kind of ignore Satan and ignore the fact that he's trying to discourage us and just push him aside, I don't know, I feel like he's given up because we like showed up with bigger weapons or something. Like, oh yeah. I feel like he just like ran and was like, I don't know how to combat that. So I don't know. I feel like you're also going to be blessed with these amazing resources at the same time to keep you doing the right things.
I love it. And you can speak for me. Yeah. So that scripture we got in our emotional resilience course was the one, and I'm paraphrasing, look unto me in every thought, so focus on him, ignore Satan. So that's really the key, because both of us were letting Satan in that week, and and I think Heavenly Father let us experience what it's like if you let him narrate your week versus letting the Lord do that. And it was much more pleasant the other way, this way that we're doing now. Much nicer. Oh, welcome back, Abby. I'm glad you could come back. Okay, so other thoughts. Linnell, I love that. I love your outlook, and I love that you can see that well-educated heart influence in your life. My mom definitely brought that into my life with books. That was just huge. And she knew books and authors and illustrators, and, you know, and she would talk about them. And now as I look back, she would talk about them as if they were her friends, like Marlene does with the people that she reads about. And it's fun how that is coming into my heart now. And as I read, I'm reading and I'm spending time with friends, and I love that. And if you can give those kinds of thoughts to your children, you know, same thing with artists. In fact, speaking of artists, I don't know, but if anybody desires at all to encourage me in this endeavor, I could sure use it. But I have for a long time thought about just creating a very simple art and music appreciation kind of a class for moms and children, because I love that so much. I get excited about it, and maybe even nature. I don't know, but I just love those things. I mean, if nothing else, it'll be for my grandchildren, and I will do that. But every once in a while there'll be a request out there. You know, a mom will say, "Is there anything like this?" And I think, oh, I guess I could do that, but I don't know. But I just absolutely love it. I get so excited about it. So I'm really excited about this book, this math book, this Mother's University math book. It's just wonderful. I've been reading from it every day, and it's really cute in that it's these little short stories, and there is a father telling the stories, and he talks about who he's reading to is one child who he calls the T's, and then the rest are I can't remember, the rest are the group, or what, the crowd is the rest of them. And every night he tells them a story, but every night he acts like he's not going to tell them the story, and they kind of beg for the story, and then he agrees and has them put another log on the fire, and then he tells them this story. And at the end of every little story is a little question, you know, list of questions, and they call it a question box, and the children know that they have to fill out the question box, and if they do, then they might get a story the next night, you know. But it's all about math. But I'm super interested, and it goes through and it teaches about the development of numbers, you know. And each story is just a couple of pages long, but it's really interesting. And I'm even doing the questions, and I have to sometimes look back because I can't remember, and it's only a few pages long, but that's all right. I'm learning and I'm nurturing my heart, but it's wonderful. And so far, every resource that I have turned to on that site has been such a blessing. And then the ones that are linked, and then, you know, as moms, that Heavenly Father brings resources to you that are perfect for your family and for you. And just always keep looking for those things. Heavenly Father wants to bless you with what you are asking for and more. So don't limit him. Keep looking for the blessings, keep looking for the answers, keep looking for the resources, because he wants to put those out there for you. Cadence put in the chat, my grandma always had art supplies and a huge backyard and garden, and just lived that way. Also really good movies. It's wonderful to look back on. Good memories. I love that. You know, this summer you can create that for your family. You know, just that kind of spending time in nature, spending time together, kind of a relaxing, lovely time. Cadence.
I love what you said about him wanting to bless us and bring those blessings into our lives. And so I want to show what I found at Goodwill. So I was in the apron section, and I found this little apron.
Oh,
it's from Austria. It's made in Austria, but it's got these cute little people on it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
oh my goodness. No way.
I know, Austria and Russia. I'm like, it's this month. How
that's incredible.
So I just love that. Sometimes I'll just get in my mind, I should go to Goodwill today and just see what they have. You know, I'll find tea set stuff and furniture, and it's just so fun that he actually, because I feel like his Heavenly Father, he brings me these wonderful things, and it just all lines up all the time. It's just this amazing thing. And I wish I had recognized this earlier in my life, because he's done it my whole life and I didn't even realize it. All these things lining up, just little things to bring me a little bit of happiness or something, or to show that he cares. And I mean, of all the things, these two tiny cute aprons, and I actually did need kid aprons, so it's just so fun.
And I love that you are recognizing it. And those are the kinds of things to put in that book that you keep, you know, that show those things that acknowledge his hand in your life. Those are beautiful. Those are treasures. I think that is so cool. I have had those same experiences. My library, I don't think I've ever brought you into my library, but my library is my dining room, and it is wall to wall bookshelves, you know, up to the ceiling on one side. And they are just the IKEA Billy bookcases. But even when we were collecting them, we didn't have a lot of money. And so every once in a while I would have this impression, go on Craigslist and search for bookcases. And I would, and they would be there in my color, you know, and I collected a few at a time that way, just when I had the prompting. And the same thing happened with other resources like that. You know, look here, go to this yard sale, go do this thing. And there was what I needed. And some of the times I went there not looking for a specific thing, but I would come upon something that I didn't even know existed, but it answered, you know, what I needed. So I love that, but that's what he wants to do. He wants to bless us with even more than what we're asking for generally. So open your heart to receiving more. You know, there's one of the podcasts by Brooke Snow is asking for the things that we're asking for or better, because most of the time he has something much better in mind. Just like that little video about the cottage and the castle. You know, we thought he was building a cottage, and he's actually building us a castle. Yes, Cadence, he loves to delight us. If we're looking for it, we'll see it. But if we have our hearts and minds closed, which is what has happened to the world around us, then we can't see it. So don't be frustrated with people. Don't get impatient with people. Know that that's all. Their hearts just got hardened. That's all. And they don't know how to see what you can see now. And so help them, help open that up. And remember, in everything, in church callings, in dealing with people at church, and dealing with your neighbors, and dealing with people in other places that you need to, with your family, extended family, you know, that's where so many hard things happen sometimes. Remember, storytelling, art, music, poetry, nature, those are the ways to touch people's hearts, to soften their hearts and help bring about change. Okay. What else? What else are we talking about? We're getting close to our end here.
I know I've shared a lot today, but can I share one last thing?
Yeah,
So it's my husband's birthday today, and every year we try to come up with something to surprise the person in the morning with whatever their themed birthday is. So last year my husband, you know, he DJs. So last year we did a DJ party, and we had, you know, decorations that went with it. So my husband also he's a cyclist, so he likes to ride his bike everywhere. And he watches this show called the GCN show, and it's these British guys that are really into cycling, and they're hilarious. And so I decorated the house with GCN stuff, and he was so surprised, and he loved it. And I just want to show you really quick because it's just so funny. So I've got GCN hanging up here, and these are the two hosts.
Cute.
And so I had them say, oh, what a great guy. Oh, he's a brilliant cyclist, you know, just like, anyway, I was just so happy and delighted that he loved it, because it's kind of hard for things that would, I don't know, not soften his heart, but like that would delight him, you know, like Heavenly Father brings to me. And so I wanted to do something that would delight him, and I had to tie in Germany, so that's why all the streamers and everything. And we're having gingerbread cake for his cake. But I'm just so excited So thanks to everybody else for sharing about birthday stuff. And I like that. I like that sort of thing.
I love that you
I'm done
did
taking
that.
all the time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We all take our turns, and it's lovely to hear from you. See that, Cadence? You are just a ray of sunshine. See, yes, yes, yes. Everyone is saying, I love it. And that's so much fun to celebrate a person on their birthday. It just feels good. And I don't think you get too old for that unless you focus on the numbers, and who cares, you know? Lindsay Cardalla, I really want to see what's being constructed at your home. I saw it pass by the screen, so I want to see.
I bought some crafts to keep my kids entertained while I'm in my meeting. This is pretty.
Oh, that's Darlene.
It's only halfway done. Come show me your, what is that, a rocket ship? Oh, it's still in construction. Maybe I'll show it later.
A rocket ship? That sounds very exciting. That's awesome. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, but I thought this tree was so cute. There's like little animals that are gonna go on it and stuff.
Oh, it's so cute. I love trees. I'm a tree climber still. Probably not very safe, but I love trees. I love trees. I love being up in trees. I always wanted my schoolroom to be a tree house. It just bursted, you know, hopes and dreams just shattered. But someday one of my kids maybe will get a tree house for their schoolroom, and I'll be so happy for them. That's so cool. Very cool. And such a smart idea to have something special for them during this time. It's like sacrament meeting. Okay, mamas, just for a moment. All of you who have small children, please know your children, most children can sit quietly on a bench. Every once in a while, there's a personality that just can't. And Heavenly Father will tell you, and you will know, this child just can't do it. And I'm going to have to be creative and think of something else, right? But the others, you can train to sit quietly on a bench. It's a matter of training. And that stuff that you work on at home, and you help them and you teach them, and you, I don't know, you try to, you try to help them practice at home so they can do it at church, you know? And then, but like I said, when you have that one that just is not going to do it, you figure that out and you love on them and you don't make them feel bad and you figure out something else, you know, but Heavenly Father is going to help you in all those situations. But to Cassie, yes, that's why I was so excited about my husband and my son in the palm trees, because I love trees. I just think it's so, there's a tree at the Los Angeles Temple. We were just there on Tuesday. We got to go down with our young women. We got to drive, and my boys, my husband and my son got to be priesthood. Michael did all the baptisms. And which, can you imagine how much fun, like me, I was such a boy crazy girl when I was in the youth program. To have this really cute, really tall boy be the one doing the baptisms, I would have been like all, you know, anyway. But our girls are really good girls, and they probably weren't even thinking about that for a second. But anyway, he's just so cute helping there. But there's a tree, back to the point of this whole thing. There is a tree outside the LA Temple that is, oh, I want to climb it so badly. Every time I'm there, I think, oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. Oh, there's the rocket. Thank you for sharing. Wow, that is really cool. Very impressive. Good job. Flames at the bottom and everything. That looks so good, buddy. Thanks for sharing.
He's not a man of many words.
Hey, that's okay. Most of them aren't. But anyway, yes, so we love trees. We love rockets. We love all that good stuff. I love anything that kids are excited about. You know, every once in a while, moms, take a moment, forget about your list, everything that you need to get done, and sit back for a minute in a place where you can look at your children from a wider perspective and just appreciate them. They're so amazing. They're so incredible. And remember that they are children. They are supposed to be children. Let them be children. I watch parents all the time kind of have these expectations, not meaning to, but that their kids will act more like adults. And you don't want that. Adults aren't that much fun to be around anyway. Kids are way more fun to be around. So don't try to get them to grow up too soon. Just enjoy them. Find ways to appreciate them and enjoy who they are, because they're such wonderful people. And they are, like I've talked about before, they agreed to let us be their parents. Oh my goodness, that's so humbling to me. Like, oh gosh, I hope I'm doing okay. You know, it kind of turns me around when I'm starting to, like when I would have moments when I'd be frustrated because they weren't doing what I wanted them to do, just because it made my life easier if they, you know, did whatever I wanted them to do in that moment. It would kind of humble me and make me go, okay, would you please, you know, hey, let's try to do this together. You know, it would change how I acted about stuff. Anyway, oh, look, and Rachel has one of hers with her. How sweet. My goodness, is that one of your daughters? Yes, beautiful, beautiful girl. What a sweet face. I love seeing children on here. That's so nice. Okay, Rachel, can you tell us her name? Or are you comfortable doing that? Oh, I see Lindsay's daughter too.
Oh, yep. This is Josie.
Josie, nice to meet you, Josie. And Josie's got
She's
red
been
hair.
practicing.
That lovely red hair.
It's
Bunching.
actually, I think it's really just the lighting. I don't know. What
Oh,
it is.
really?
It's really.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
it
not
is
red.
the light.
It's
What
just-
color is it? What color
think
is
it
your
must
hair,
be the light.
Josie?
I'm trying to even see. How can you tell? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
it's just a light brown.
Light brown
Yeah.
and lovely. I love that. So nice. I love seeing your kids' faces come on. So don't ever feel like you have to, you know, because we like seeing them. Okay. Anything else, mamas? Anything else you want to talk about before we go on to our Fridays? Are we ready for a wrap up? Linnell, are you game?
Sure. Always game. I just want to share 3 words that have been sticking out in my mind like for the past 3 weeks maybe. And it is identity, purpose, and potential. So I feel like it's the message of the universe has been trying to teach me lately. Maybe some of you have had these messages as well. And so I've been pondering in a lot of different aspects and situations in my life, what is my identity? Who am I? And what is my purpose? And what is my potential? And when I can really think about those 3 words and kind of get in line with who God thinks what God thinks I am, who God thinks I am, and what He says my potential and my purpose is, it really helps with my perspective. And I think this can apply to some of the things we were talking about today, that we are children of God and our potential. I mean, you could think of this in the biggest sense, like have a really broad perspective, or it could just be day to day in our mothering tasks or in our relationships with our husband or a friend, just everything. Everything in life, I think, can be simplified and addressed if we can understand our potential and our purpose and our identity. So I would just leave that with you to ponder, to think about, to maybe to study. And as you go through the next few days, or even come across challenges or questions or struggles, identify some of those and seek answers for who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. And it can have a significant impact, I think, in how you deal with life and how you treat others and how you experience joy.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. And from Abby, Linnell, you're always so spot on. Thank you for sharing. I needed this. We all need this. Thank you, Linnell. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being genuine and sincere and vulnerable, because that's where real sharing takes place. It's been wonderful. Thanks again, moms, for a wonderful Friday. As we said, we will continue every Friday, knowing that some of you will be in and out over the summer. We understand that. That's okay. And for now, the recordings will still be there. We may go private and we'll let you know about that. So again, anybody that wants to make sure that they still have access to these recordings, be sure to contact me so we can make sure you are on the list to be notified of those recordings. Thank you. Have an amazing Friday. Have a wonderful week until we see each other next Friday. Bye.